Welcome. It's been a long cast. Oh, okay. And we are, by the looks of it, casting both of these semifinals. Zombie Grub, of course, I want to let you guys know how much of a trooper she's been tonight before we do player intros. She has been sick through the entire broadcast and still been casting with me the entire night like a trooper. So if I tell you at this point, no pressure, no stress. If you have to take off, feel free. But I want to thank you for coming out tonight. But our own self-gratification aside, boys and girls, you're watching the IEM Sao Paulo Qualifiers for Brazil. Well, for North America to go to Brazil. I always mess that up. It's a best of 5 in the losers bracket, so this is it. There's no second lives for either of these players. Spawning in the lower right corner of the map, falling from Grace to Major, it is the Red Terran from CM Storm. Give it up for Polt. Find him on Twitter. Oops, at CM Storm Polt.
And in the upper left, as the blue Protoss, it's Evil Genius's Hook.
Huck has a bit of an odd Twitter. If you guys don't know, it is at Lorenzo Chris. I think that's how you pronounce it. He is, I believe, from that portion of Canada, but has actively actually been looking into trying to claim Huck on Twitter, but it's been claimed by someone who's been, I guess, been active for a few years. I don't know the story behind it. But Huck is, of course, like one of the, let's be honest, like what other North American other than State, we'll put that on hold for another conversation, but like he went to Korea back in the day. He's been in the scene for God knows how long. He's one of the few people who've won a Shoutcraft America. This guy doesn't need more hype. And yet, I still feel like he might be the underdog in this series.
He's lived in Korea, hasn't he? Like he's still
moved.
there.
Like, yeah, he straight up moved. Wait, I don't think he's there now. Maybe, I don't know, but I do know for a time he straight up moved to Korea. He lived there to compete in GSL. Like he has been so dedicated to StarCraft 2. This man that we were trying to build up in like such hype is the underdog if you guys can consider. We'll see how he holds up against Polt. Polt has really good PvT though. Like realistically stupidly good PvT.
Yeah, and he's going, is that just a scout? I guess it's just a scout, just going the longer way, I suppose, to Huck's base. It's odd to see a scout though when you Reaper expand, because obviously the Reaper gets your scout. It's only going to scout really odd things like a very early gateway.
Well, Huck wants to try and keep it out of the base, but the SCV will get on in here. Doesn't see anything too crazy. If he's looking, he'll notice that it's a very low gas mining income, so it'll probably be the more economic Mothership Core build to go into the expansion later. Huck, though, has not started his Warp Tech Zombie Grub. He's got the gas for it.
Stake right there? He might be waiting to put down like a... No, he's still on 2-on-2. That's a mistake.
It's got to be a mistake. He's so focused on the SCV, I feel. Push outside the front of the base. The Reaper will be sniped off before the SCV. The SCV will ultimately die to the Mothership Core, but still no Warp Tech researching. What has Huck got in mind? I feel like it's a mistake, but there could be some special tactic he's prepared for Polt that's like, look, I'm just going to go super Oracle heavy, no Warpins required or something, you know?
Oh, there it goes.
Alright, so just a small mistake, small blip, not a big deal, but still, if that had been like another minute, that's when it gets really worrisome.
Yeah, for sure. But, nope. Huck's completely on top of it. Oh, a little bit of lag right there, but Polt's... Oh, no, actually, Huck will just run right past it. Like, don't even care. We might get a few SCV kills if he doesn't get surrounded. Of course, the goal is to just push it back to the bunker, but Huck won't let that happen.
Huck's actually doing some great job maneuvering through the mineral lines, trying to avoid... I mean, he knows the mineral walk is coming out of Polt to try and get the surround off, but he doesn't kill a lot with this, but he doesn't lose anything to it either, which is more important, I feel.
Yeah, it's, you know, oftentimes if they run past the bunker, you see a lot of Protoss players just get surrounded and they obviously made a mistake, but keeping control like that, even if he didn't kill that many SCVs, in fact, only just one, it's A-okay, right? Like nothing was traded.
Now, worth noting, guys, if you haven't been paying attention, I'll reiterate one last time for our live audience. We will apparently, I thought we weren't because we didn't do it yesterday, but we will be casting Puck versus State after this best of 5. So I thought this was the last best of 5. I was mistaken. We have one more coming after this, and it's going to be a wonderful PvP.
This probe in the lower left-hand corner looks to be setting up, at the very least, a proxy pylon for later. Maybe trying to get a sneaky scout in, because once again, Polt, darn you, the bunker's just not in the middle like it usually is, so I think a probe could maybe get around there.
I kind of like this being a little bit further back, though. He's not... I don't think he's looking to put up a wall, but this will also make it so it's a little bit harder to run by. Not by a lot, but just a little bit. I don't know.
I'm buying the right side, but on the left side's completely open. Alright.
I'm trying to rationalize this. Cut me some slack.
I think it's just like it doesn't really matter, honestly, and he just put it wherever he happened to click at the time.
Probably. It is actually, that's one thing I do love. Like, I might be a player who could never really ever exceed like 200, 300 APM if my hardest trying moments, but for players who are constantly bouncing around the map like crazy, like you'll see some players go up like 500, 700 APM. Like, I can't imagine how they have mouse accuracy, like really.
Holding down the bailing morphing button. No, I'm kidding. I know what you're talking about.
Alright, well, we do have Polt moving out for a little bit of a push. This is nothing too unusual. This is, of course, meant to bait out the overcharge. If Huck doesn't want to do it, he might get some kills, but you know, we saw Desert sort of with the same sentry defense earlier. If you can wrap it, again, like you either keep the Marines completely out, which on Belcher is a little unrealistic because of how wide this choke is, or you get that sort of like cup of a force field and get a couple more kills because of it. Unfortunately, though, Huck, he's got to make sure this Warp Prism doesn't get scouted.
It's not going to be scouted, but it was an investment that's not going into, say, I don't know, 2 more Zealots or something, so this army at the front is still not that scary. The cannon is always scary, though, and it really is just to bait it out, but he doesn't even fall for it. He doesn't even bait it out. Whew. That's the whole goal of it.
Okay, well, Warp Prism hitting on southward. Might be able to warp in some Zealots and do some damage with it. This poke outside the front. Polt, what are you doing? It's weird seeing it posture because, like, what are you waiting for? Like, you're waiting for your opponent to get enough units to kill you with? Like, the longer you wait, the scarier it is. Puck, though, sorry, not Puck, sorry, Huck, though, with an H. Ugh. Behind this is going Charge Lot. He's got the Templar Archives on the way. He already started his armor upgrades. He's going for your very typical anti-Terran build. But we've seen Polts already today in the first round shut Desro down when he went to do something like that. I don't know if Huck will be able to pull off the same moves. Maybe he's got a couple extra jukes and jives that Desro didn't. Of course, number one being this Warp Prism. But we've already seen once today that that Polt can hold against Huck if this is just your standard game. I know, Polt and Huck is turning into Puck, and I'm sorry, it's not on purpose.
The Warp Prism is going to come in here right now. I was going to comment this is something that State does a lot in TV or PVT, and that's why I liked State. Like, I saw him do it a few times, and I was like instantly in love with his PVT. But Warp Prism harass in the early stages is really, really cool to see. And it doesn't do too much, but it brings, of course, the army back, and it keeps Polt on his toes. He knows that he can't stay out in the front lines anymore. He can't, because that's something he did against Desro, is he's left his army at the front lines and never pulled back. So he can't do that now with the threat of the counterattack.
Yeah. Pylon being put down here towards the south too, so what I kind of want to see out of Hawk, honestly, is like warp-ins through the Warp Prism to the main and a big run-in of Zealots to the natural. It's kind of the same as a Terran player dropping into locations, like you just can't respond to it with a minimalistic army. Behind this though, Hawk, I don't know if this was intentional or not. He has on purpose gone for those Archons, forgone worrying about Storm. It's not even researching, it's not already completed, so moving on to Colossus out of this. I don't know. I really like Storm. I really do, like a lot. And I'm a Terran player.
Honestly, it's just something you don't see very often. If they go for, High Templars first, they're gonna go straight up to Storm. It's almost like the one Colossus fake into Storm, but just reversed. So the High Templars with no Storm into Colossus.
Oh, Warp Prism.
Yeah.
Polt with some very quick reaction. Like, I saw that coming. I was gonna see if he even saw it, but not only did he see it, he like insta-stimmed.
Well, the good thing is also that by not getting Storm, Polt doesn't know that. So he's going to just assume that the High Templars, because you can't not assume and try and go in and then be Storms. So you're always going to assume that they're going to be Storms. And while there's not, and we know that, Polt's going to be preparing for something that's not actually coming. And it's almost exactly like the trick Colossus. It's just a trick High Templars. Like, Polt is even investing into a Ghost Academy. He's not going to have any Vikings.
This is kind of one of those awkward tricks, though, where it's not as tricky as you might think it is, because, of course, EMPs are good against everything. As long as it is shields and EMP does, it's effective. Now, you're right. This is something where Polt's going to wish he had had Vikings instead. However, Hawk is, as you said, kind of doing this weird switcheroo. And, of course, it's not like he can never go back into Storm Tech. He might swap that out for the later game. Tech swaps in StarCraft 2 are some of the scariest things to deal with. I mean, that's the power of Zerg more than anything else. And Hawk is kind of adopting that here. Will lose the Warp Prism finally. Does get cleaned up.
Didn't do a whole lot direct damage, but again, it kept taking the army back. So usually by this time, Polt's attacking at 2 places at once, right? But now he's only attacking at once, and Huck's gonna be able to take care of that no problem. The third is canceled. You usually, again, guaranteed a few cancels as Terran player, especially on this map. On the third, just inevitable. You have a certain timing where they just don't have enough units to split up. You need to be careful to pick up here.
Oh, the Archon doesn't even really get scratched, and of course shields regenerate rather quickly once they're out of combat. But Polt looking to hope that opened up a hole on the front lines. Huck is actually completely out of position, and this is just what we saw earlier today. Zombie Grub coming in here should be able to knock down the Nexus, focuses down the Mothership Core, and he can retreat a large portion of his army out of this, as he doesn't... Look at this, there's no Blink Stalkers. There's like one Stalker.
See, that's what the War Prism was doing a good job of, was keeping Polt from doing that, but Huck just... not able to get back in time. Just got a little too, you know... What's the word? Tunnel vision on that one medevac drop to the side.
Little too distracted. Armor's gonna get healed up, and what's scary is if Huck again moves out of position. Actually, I take this back. I didn't even know. So put some cannons down the main, which is kind of cool. This will prevent medevacs from flying over, but Polt's probably gonna be unloading over here on the cliff and just moving forward after that.
Yeah. Also, you know, these Colossus weren't a huge surprise. It's not like Huck got a bunch of kills because he surprised Polt. So Polt's going to be able to get up those Vikings. It doesn't even matter. Now he's just going to have both techs versus both techs, just maybe in the reverse order that you're used to.
Yeah, one thing too, guys. Well, actually, hold that thought. We do have a multi-pronged engagement ready to hit up. Polt snipes off the Observer, quite nice. Factory gonna be, the Factory Overlord gonna go down as well, or maybe not. People in chat though asking, why is Polt playing this if he's in Korea? He's Korean, blah blah blah. Polt registered for this in America, and the rules of IEM are pretty much like wherever your IP registered from is where you play from. That's why Jockshi, living in the Mind Sanity house, played from Europe, and Polt, of course, registering from the United States, despite playing in Korea currently. But okay, a bit of an engagement force on both angles. Will he get this Nexus again? No, he does actually get the cancel off on it. Pushes into the third at the same time. He's gonna get 2 bases for this attack, Zombie Grub.
Just abusing Boshear really, really well here. Polt's so good at it, and this map just really helps out as well. You go into the main, you go into the natural, you go into the third. So many attack routes, and just it's so hard for a Protoss player to keep up perfectly. And as you can see, it's working out very, very well. Now, Polt's army still might not be the best thing in the world. Well, Huck's is pretty good, but it's just the economy. I don't think Huck's ever going to get maxed.
That's exactly what I was going to say next. Like, Huck's army could take Polt. Like, if it's an A move versus an A move, Huck wins that fight, not because he's Protoss, but because his composition is perfect. The problem is, he's mining off of 1 base. He's been trying to get that third for God knows how long, and Polt will not let him do it. I mean, I kind of wonder, like, what can you do at this point? Like, invest in, like, 40 cannons and hope to shut Polt down? I mean, Huck has just been split apart not once, but twice. And, I mean, I wouldn't... You know, Polt's probably not even going to try and split him again this time. This fight coming up, he's got EMPs, he's got Vikings. As long as he doesn't walk into storms, he should be okay. Ghost on the front line is going to try and get those EMPs, but no, nice feedbacks. Loses the Colossus to this. 2 of them go down, but EMP did land on the... Yeah, sadly on the Templar. So one last storm going out. The Colossus falls, and now it's an Archon and a couple of Mortals. One more storm goes down, so I didn't realize that other Templar was still in there. I thought it was a sentry, but even then, if Polt lands the Vikings, I mean, he's just got such a big army.
Polt's not going to let this game get away from him, but if there was an odd chance for Huck to get back in this game, it would be to just, like, try and get, you know, stabilized. Because you have both tech, your army's always going to be decent.
Those probes.
Probes are going to go down.
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah, but yeah, so your army's always going to be decent as a Protoss player when you have both techs, and if you can wait out long enough to get max, you might not have a bank and your opponent will, but you'll have a great army that you can get back into the game, but I just don't feel like Polt's going to wait for that to happen.
You know, there's kind of that top 3 control joke coming out for Huck, but one of the things I do like is you look at the workers lost so far this game. Yes, he's taken, like, the Nexus losses, and yes, he's taken some army losses, but he's actually not lost that many probes. So his economy, in that regards, has been somewhat untouched. Instant warp and Bigfoot on overcharge, but this is such a big push. And, of course, he can lift up and leave afterwards. Another Nexus is going to go down. Oh, no! 14 health! Nope, never mind. The last Marauder gets the last shot.
One Marauder, man.
What a hero. Died, but for the cause. And I think you're right. Like, Huck is now supply block too. Like, maxing out isn't even a question of economy right now. He just can't.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, Alex says, "Forget trying to stay alive. My army might be able to beat yours in a head-on engagement. Granted, I don't lose any of my storms, but the Colossus. Oh my God, the Colossus instantly goes down. The storms are going to be there. At least a few of them, but then that's it.
The force fields are great, but yeah, you're right. There's just not a lot of follow-up to this. I mean, he sliced and he diced with those Zealots. The Charge Lot still pushing forward, but the Immortals fallen. Good game is called. Polt will take game number 1 in this best of 5.